separated when I was really little. Before I was even born, it was sort of a one-night sort of thing. Except it was in a day, in a meadow, where my mom would go to watch my dad pass by every day. Anyways, I always knew who he was, and I would see him pass by every day. Of course, who doesn't? But I never really knew him. And he was never really around. I mean, not around.
Where better might we find a more precise illustration of the dangers of premature initiation than in this ancient tale of alternating parental indulgence and neglect?
So, I went to an expensive school, and there were a lot of boys there who were, the sons of the rich and famous. And one day, we were all in the playground, and this one kid, Epiphas, he goes to me. So Phaeton, blah, blah, blah. Who's your father? What does he do? Blah, blah, blah. So I tell him, my father's the sun. And he says, oh, tell me another. And I say, he's the sun. He's Phoebus Apollo. He basically just trampled me. Just beat the crap out of me. Like I was lying.
Neither his own opinion of himself, nor the regard for him, or lack of it in his peers, obviates the father's primitive role as initiating priest for the younger being. Now, it cannot be contested that the absence of this figure is, for the son, an almost irredeemable loss.
So, I go home and I say, Mom, this happened, at school. And she gets all upset, crying and everything, because she still loves him, and it's an insult to her as well. And I'm like, well, if it's true, how come there's no proof of it? It's not fair to us, that there's no proof. And she gets even more upset, and she says, oh, my son, by his splendor, I swear that you are his truly begotten son, that far orb which you see crossing the sky each day, whose heat enlivens and enables the world, is indeed your sire. Believe me, my wonderful darling. Blah, blah, blah.
When he matures beyond the customary Eden of the mother breast, the child seeks to individuate beyond its enfolding gate and looks towards the new symbols of the paternal realm, thus enacting his spiritual passage from one sphere to the next.
So she tells me to go over to the valley where my dad works, just to ask him to set things straight, to, do right by me. Anyway, I set out, and it's hot, and it's dusty, and it's a long way across Ethiopia. And part of the time I walk, and part of the time I hitch, and finally I get there. And the hill was so steep.
But this passage is never easy.
So at the door are my dad's secretaries. The days, the hours, and the century. But they recognized me. And they told me to go on in. And there he was, all shiny and golden. I couldn't even look at him. He was so bright. And you know what he says to me? He says, my son, you are welcome.
My son, you are welcome.
Speak, Phaeton, to your father.
Phaeton, to your father.
Now, I can't even tell you what this was to me. So, I just told him everything, I spilled my guts. And you know what he says to me? He says, my son, let me grant you a favor.
My son, let me grant you
Whatever
a favor.
you ask shall be yours.
Whatever you ask shall be yours.
And he swears to it.
The conventional exordium of the initiate from latent to realized potential is inevitably accompanied by radical realignment of the patient's emotional relationship with the imago of parental authority.
Now, there's only one thing I want. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? I say, give me the keys to your car. And immediately, he starts backpedaling, saying it's his job.
It's my job.
No one else can do it.
You can.
And up in the sky, there's a bull, a lion, and a scorpion
Scorpion.
to get me. So I say, give me the keys to your car. It's my turn. I want to drive it myself across the sky. You promised.
When the father, or his substitute, must be assured before he transfers the symbols of adult vocation that the son is not operating from infantile complexes. Complexes that might dangerously redirect his new task towards the unconscious promptings of self-aggrandizement, personal preference, or even resentment.
Where have you been all my life, Dad? It's my turn. Hand it over. So he handed over the reins. Do not stop giving advice. Like, don't fly too high.
Don't fly too high.
Nor too low. Stay in the tracks. Go slant-wise. On and on and on and on.
Myths are the earliest forms of science.
I didn't listen. It was over before it began. It was chaos, okay? Out of control, as if no one was driving. My knees were weak. I was blind from all the light. I set the earth on fire. And I fell. And it just destroyed me, you know? I was just completely and utterly destroyed. OVER, over.